I never forgot Jack Miller. I was 19 years old at Louis Tannen's, the old Tannen's that was on 42nd Street, and I walked in there. I'd never seen him before, never heard about him. He was standing in the middle of the public area, and people were all around him. And he was doing his, what's come to be known as the ball and silk routine with the pencil. They were appearing and disappearing. They were right there in front of my eyes, and I went crazy. It was really magic.
Jack Miller used to hang out at Tannen's magic shop and teach there. He had students. And I would see Jack Miller doing some miracles, and didn't know about a holdout or what it was. These were just miracles, just magic.
I became a student of Jack Miller's when I was either 15 or 16 years old, when I worked for Lou Tannen at 120 West 42nd Street. And it was a great experience.
When I came back from Europe after the Germans surrendered, that was in the summer of 1945, and I met Jack shortly after that.
In the early 1940s, when I worked at Tannen's, and in those years we had a lot of wonderful magicians who would hang around on Saturday afternoons, among them Jack Miller.
I still think it's one of the greatest weapons a magician can have, is a Jack Miller holdout.
Hi, my name is Alan Greenberg. When I was about 9 years old, I saw Harry Blackstone Sr. He came to Oklahoma City, and I was hooked. I guess that's a story that almost all of you watching this have a similar experience. When I moved to New York, Jack Miller was still around, and I saw him perform at a couple SAM events. I wasn't a member then, but I bought a ticket, went to see him, and it just knocked me out. I immediately bought everything he sold. I think you could buy everything he had for like $4 or $5. But anyway, I'd like to do some of the things that he did that I've tried to adopt so you can do them now. I think that some of the things he did were great then, but I don't think they could be done now. Jack would start by taking a handkerchief out of his pocket. I'm from Oklahoma, so I use kind of a handkerchief. This is a handkerchief that obviously is for a cowboy with a small nose. Anyway, I just go like that, and a ball seems to appear. You can't do this outside, obviously, because you don't want the handkerchief to blow away. And then Jack would take a pen out of his pocket. He called it a magic wand. Watch. The magic wand not only gives, but the magic wand can take, like that. About this time, he took the pen, put it away, used his finger just like that, and a ball appeared. He then took the ball, gave it a little toss like that, and the handkerchief was back. Not only is the handkerchief back, but the ball's back. Now Jack would take the little handkerchief, put it over his pen, and say, look, a Christmas tree. Took the Christmas tree, stuck it in his hand, just like that, went like that, it disappeared. I'll give you a little tip. You probably noticed this, but the handkerchief and the pen are the same color. Then he put the handkerchief away, and he was obviously left with just the pen. He took the pen, held it right in front so you could see it, and then he just went like that. Thank you, Jack.
To retrieve objects and make them vanish from the right sleeve, the left hand plays an important part. It works like a seesaw. When the left arm is extended either up, down, or forward, the holdout will be pulled back into the right sleeve. When you want to retrieve an object, bend the left arm and raise it slightly to chest level, allowing the holdout to lower out of the right sleeve. You must experiment and find a set of natural gestures that look good on you. There are also times when raising and lowering your shoulders can help in the process.
I like to show you the way the whole of it is hooked up. There's the fish hook, just like that, right under your watch, like that. It runs to my right, down my right sleeve, and once again there's this guard that keeps it from coming out. The holdout itself is simplicity, believe me. Once again, go to the sporting goods store, and this is a big weight. My guess is it costs 50 cents. You run the string from the alligator clip. There's a hole here, and you can run the string through there. You can tie it. Then you run it through this. You tape it real tight on here, and you've got something that'll last about 100 years. Certainly it'll outlive me, I'll tell you that. And it does work. It's simple. It's easy. I mean, this thing, it couldn't cost 75, maybe 75 cents. But it lasts forever. So I hope you have a lot of fun with it. I know I have. You start out with a handkerchief in your pocket, a ball in your pocket, an identical ball in the holdout. Take the handkerchief out, go like that, shake it a couple times, go like that, and the ball comes out. Place that over, get the holdout, hold it like the ball, they can see the ball, go like that, and if done right, it's a pretty good disappearing. You put this in your pocket, and you get a ball. You hold the pen, and say this is kind of a magic wand. You go like that, you produce a ball from the holdout, obviously. You go like this, you hold the ball, they can see the ball, goes in the holdout, go like this and like this, it's gone. You go like this, and the ball's over here. You take the pen, put it away, steal a ball, go like this, and there's the ball. Hold it like this, toss it in that hand, go like this, and again you produce a handkerchief. And from the handkerchief, once again, you produce the ball. Put the ball away, get the pen back. See, it kind of looks like a red Christmas tree. Stick it in your hand. Holdout takes it away. You go like this. You say that, give you a clue. You notice that the pen is the same color as the handkerchief. Handkerchief comes back. Take it. Put it away. Steal the holdout. Take the pen. Stick it in the holdout like this. Just go like this. And it's gone. And you're finished. And I think it's quite mysterious. And 2 weeks ago, I did it for a couple of members of the SAM. They were standing right in front of me, and they really went gaga over it. And so I think I'll tell you what the problems were in the routine and why I had to make some changes. When you get to the part where you take the handkerchief and put it in the holdout, Jack used a regular silk, and I tried that. It wouldn't work at all. Okay, it was silk, it came out the sides and so forth. So what I did was I put like earmuffs. It doesn't impede the ball going at all. In fact, it makes it easier, I think. So that certainly worked. And that way I could take the silk, stick it in like that, and the handkerchief stayed there. And I used this handkerchief because it had a stickier texture. Not sticky, it's not real silky and slick. And of course that's the size, and it just works perfect for me. You put it in there, it stays in there, it goes up your sleeve. You can take it out like that. I'd like to show you just for a second when you have the ball and the holdout drops down, and you're holding the holdout like this, from the front they can't see anything. You just push it in. Remember that right little finger, away it goes, just like that. It drops down all by itself, no question about that. And Jack Miller pointed out you never really reach for the ball. You let the ball drop in your hand and just take the holdout, goes away, and then you've got the ball. Now the next problem with Jack Miller's routine was, and Jack Miller's original holdout was a Butte. It was a large safety pin, almost this long, the kind you've probably seen, huge safety pin, and you attach it, of course, to the weight and so forth. And somehow he would take that silk, this would be in the holdout, he'd take the silk, I gather it covered his hand, he released this somehow with his thumb, and then he took it all and put it over here, and then he made the pin disappear by somehow getting it into the safety pin. I couldn't do it. So I dropped it, then I started thinking about it, and I came up with this thing. What I did was this. I've explained to you like the earmuffs. I took an old cigarette pull. I'm sure you have it with the elastic and so forth. A paper-mate pen fits in it perfectly. Perfectly. And I mean, when you stick it in like that, it's like glue. I cut it down because you don't want something that long. I cut it about here. So you have something like that. I took a tongue depressant, like the doctor looks at you, and made that the floor, really, of this little thing. And I put this thing right like that. Once again, the ball doesn't have a problem getting in there. Now, if you have that here, you still are kind of fooling around trying to find where it is. So what I did was I made a little funnel out of paper and glued it around this thing. So now, as you can see, it's like a little funnel. The paper would wear out, but if you put Scotch tape both inside and outside, you have something that'll last forever. This has lasted for years. So now, blindfolded, I can take this thing, it goes right in the funnel and in just like that. No groping, no nothing. It just goes in because the funnel is right there. Now this may seem like a lot of work, but believe me, you can do this in no time at all. All you need is this. You need a ball holder, of course. You need somebody that will just sew that for you in a few minutes. You place that on the tongue depressant, which is right here, like that, and you've got something. Take the paper, make a little funnel, like that, glue it on this, or Scotch tape it on this, I mean, and you've got something you can use forever. This is a paper-mate pen. They just fit perfectly, I think I said that. But one time I was doing this, and this thing went up, and I was then left holding the top. That can't happen anymore because I Scotch tape right here where the joint is. So believe me, this pen, if it goes up, the whole thing goes. I'm not left holding this thing. So it's just, I think you probably feel the same way I do. You want to feel very secure in the props you're using and not worry about them failing you at some inopportune moment. And believe me, this thing won't. So that's how I solve what I think the problems of using, I guess, modern menswear. I like my sleeves short. I have the feeling it makes me look like Cary Grant. Some people would question that, but anyway, that's how he wore his sleeves. I like to wear them the same. And there's no problem. Whenever, as I pointed out before, if you want to be sure that there's no problem in anything going up, remember, your right little finger just goes like that. You can almost put an elephant up your sleeve. Small elephant, but I guess you put an elephant up. Anyway, this thing, she's not much to look at, but believe me, I think she can cook, and she does. So that's how I solve the problems, I think, with the ball, the pen, and the handkerchief. I hope you have fun with it. It's not hard to do. In fact, it's easy to do, particularly with this beauty. Good luck.
The holdout was a specialty for him, and when he got you into this little room and he started demonstrating the holdout and the miracles that it could perform, making pencils vanish, silks vanish, balls vanish, and he was so adept at it that it was probably the closest thing to real magic.
Of course, with the holdout, you could do all the wonderful tricks like the egg bag and the silken ball routine and the pencils.
You used to step out from behind the counter and do it in the middle of the floor. And later on, when I became a partner, that's when I learned to walk out from behind the counter so that everybody can see, and there was no hiding anything, and that's what made it look like real magic.
Now here we have a beautiful silk. You see both ends are at the end of the center. The center is in the middle, see? And here at this end we have a little ball which I want you to hold. Oh, there goes that sleeve again. And there we are. You hold the ball there. Now we'll take the red ball. Take the red ball, you have the yellow ball, is that right? I'll take the red ball and I'll place the red ball inside the silk in that manner, right? Now, I want you to hold this. And I'll take the yellow ball. You have the red, I have the yellow. I'm going to throw the yellow ball into the silk and take the red ball out in my hand. You now have the yellow ball. Right. Now, no doubt you'd like to know how that was done. All you do is place the balls in your pocket like that. Now you must get the ball out of your pocket and put it inside your silk. What you do is go back and forth like this. And when no one is looking, you take the ball out of your pocket and put it into the silk in that manner. Now, after you've got the ball, you have to wrap the ball up first and put it into the silk. Then roll up the silk so the ball can't fall out. Like that. Now you're all ready to do the little trick. You've got your ball in your silk, and you must poke the ball inside the silk, which you place in your pocket. You must be careful so the ball doesn't stick in the end of the pencil. You see what I mean? Because that happens sometimes, yes. If you put the pencil in much straight, it'll stay in there. If you tilt it, the ball will come out again. Now, at this point, I'm going to take the ball, I'm going to place the ball in my pocket. Darn thing, boy. You beat that. Every time I want to put that ball somewhere else, it's somewhere else. If I put that ball over here, it's over here. Can you imagine that? I never saw anything like it. Oh, nuts. Now, as I said before, you're supposed to put the ball in your pocket. 3 times. I got stuck. Look. There, it got stuck again. Look at that. That's a funny thing, isn't it? Huh? That ball was in there. Now, I'm going to fold up the silk like this. And put it on the end of the pencil. Now, if that were green, it would look like a Christmas tree, wouldn't it? You ever play Christmas tree and stand in the corner, get lit up? Now, the way to vanish your silk is easy. All you do is stick it into your hand like that. See? Poke it right in with your pencil, like that. See, what you really do is stick it into the pencil, see? You keep it there, and you put your billiard balls and silks in there, and you got your entire act in the pencil. You see what I mean? And when you want to work with it, well, you take it out again and work with it. There goes the gadget. I'm having more hard luck tonight than anything else, you know. I had a quarter meal before I came in, a 12 to 25 cent piece. Now, here's a little pencil now. You worry about this tape, right? Looks funny. You know, I put the pencil in my pocket the other day with the balls and silks in it, and the point made a hole in the pocket, and the balls went down there and gave me back your knee. So a friend of mine, he said, why don't you break it in half? It'll fit better. So I went and I broke it in 2 pieces like that, see? Now those 2 pieces will fit in the pocket much better if you glue them together and put your balls and silks in there. Then you got, anytime you want to do your act, you can do it. Thank you.
I think that this was Jack Miller's favorite trick. That's just my guess. Anyway, he'd start out and he'd show the egg bag, obviously empty. Sir, would you do me a favor? Put your hand in there. He called this trick the egg bag trick. The reason he called it an egg bag was that he kept eggs in there, like that, a big egg, just like that. Then he'd look down there, and he'd reach in, he'd take another egg out, just like that. Then he'd act like somebody in the back of the room didn't understand what he was saying. He said, no, don't you understand? I keep eggs in here. Eggs, like this, eggs. And he said, you can also do something else with a bag like this. You can actually do tricks with it. For instance, you can take an egg out of your pocket, place it in the bag, snap your finger, and the egg is gone. Will you squeeze that bag? Is there any chance there's an egg in there?
No, absolutely not.
No, of course not. It's gone. That's why. It's gone. It's back in my pocket. Now, if you want to reverse the thing, you can do the same thing over again, except exactly opposite. You go like this, and guess what? The egg is back in here. You can take the egg, you put it back in the pocket like that, you snap your finger, it's gone, and the egg is back in your pocket. Sometimes Jack would tell people he'd hide the egg behind the bag. Of course, you can't just take the egg and do that. You have to, I'll do it in slow motion. What he'd do is he'd go like this. He'd take the egg, go like that, put it behind his bag, and then act like he was throwing it in there. I'll do it now. I'll do it in full speed now. You ready? Take the egg. That's full speed. Of course, what he didn't explain was if he snapped his finger, the egg went back in his pocket. Now, sometimes Jack would hide the egg under his arm, like that. You have to be very careful, because if you don't pay attention, you lift the arm, the egg leaves, and goes right back in the pocket. Now, another way that Jack would get the egg from his hand into the bag was he would take the egg and he would actually drop it down his sleeve. So it would go over here, kind of juggle it over there, kind of juggle it here, and the egg would come out, end up right in the bag. Now, I don't do that, but I'll show you what I do think is my favorite way of doing it. I take the egg out of the bag. I hold it just like this, and I go like this. But that takes a lot of practice. I'd like to kind of do this in reverse order. When I originally sent for Jack Miller's egg bag routine, I think it cost $3 or something, and you got an egg, and I don't know whether you can still buy these, I doubt it, so you have to kind of make one, but it's easy. All you have to do is take a handkerchief ball that has a hole cut in it, drill a little hole here, so you can put one of these little things right in there. They screw in. They probably would be strong enough by itself, but I, just to make sure, I put some epoxy on the inside, so there's plenty to keep this little screw from coming out. Now, it's very light, so the way you cure that is go to a fishing supply or sporting goods store, go to the fishing area. You can buy 5 of these weights for $1.50. That's what they cost in New York. They probably cost 50 cents someplace else. You put these in there, 5 of them, and put some tissue paper in so they don't rattle around, just so they're compact. Then you can take some white electrician's tape and just cover that, and believe me, it works fine. Now, I happen to think this egg is a little bit big. I think you should use probably a smaller egg. But if you have a plastic egg, I'm sure all of you do someplace that you haven't used in maybe 20 years, just take it, cut a hole in it, drill a little hole up here, put this in it, put the weights in it, and you're in business. As you can see, the Jack Miller egg is a little bit thinner than the one that I've just made, but it'll work. But you're better off if you can get an egg a little bit thinner, and I think then the plastic egg is what you're looking for. All you do is attach a string to it up here, once again to a fish hook. It's a good idea to break off the point, otherwise you might commit suicide by accident. And this goes right under your watch like that. Won't come loose, it'll stay there forever. If you button your shirt, there's no chance of seeing anything. Jack Miller's original instructions were that you should do these tricks with your sleeves rolled up. And I think that looks very funny in this day and age to worry about and have people not see your sleeves. It just looks funny. I can tell you that. I can tell you there's no problem doing it with your sleeves on. One little tip is when the egg comes out, to be sure it goes in, if you just take your right little finger and go like that, there's a tunnel and there's no chance of it getting hung up. This goes for everything you use with the holdout. Just take your right little finger and go like that. Now in doing the Jack Miller routine, I'll start off by, and then I'll stop when I tell you where the problems came and why I had to give up on it. You start off with an egg bag with the egg concealed. Have them examine it. Tell them you keep eggs in here. Reach down, let the egg get in your hand, reach in, take the egg out, shoot the egg up your sleeve and act like you put it in your pocket. You then say, oh, there's another egg there. Once again, you take the egg, it's right here. You take it, you reach in, and the second egg goes right in your pocket. And then you reach in, you take the egg that was in the bag to start with, which was concealed, which you move around, you take it out, you put that in your pocket. You say that you can also do magic with this bag. For instance, you can take an egg out of your pocket. You can take it, place it in the bag just like that, snap your fingers, and I had Eric examine it. Of course, there's no egg there, but you said it's vanished. It's gone right back to your pocket. You can do the same thing over again, except directly opposite. You can take the egg, place it in your pocket, go like that and snap, and the egg ends up back in the bag, or you can reverse it. You can take the egg, put it back in the bag like that, and once again, the egg is in your pocket. About this time, I quit reading and gave up on Jack Miller's egg bag, because what he said to do was put the egg back there and say that that's where you hide it, and then he said you squeeze the egg, I guess like the pumpkin thing, like that, and it goes right in your sleeve, and that obviously is impossible with today's coats and jackets. There's no way anybody can squeeze that egg. So what I did, I devised this. Hold the bag like that, reach down and just pinch part of the jacket. And you say you have to have a reason. You have to go back there and you have to actually put it there. What you're doing is you form a little tunnel so it goes right down your sleeve, just like that. I'll do that again. You got to have a reason for doing that. So you go like this. I'll do it in slow motion. You act like you're putting it right there. There's nothing's here. You go like that. And then you say, but I'll do it now in real speed. With that, you take the egg that's hanging down. Don't let them see it. Act like you're taking the egg that you just put there, right here. Go like this and go, that's real speed. Of course, what he didn't tell you is if you snap your finger, the egg leaves there and goes right back in your pocket. And then I go into the bit about he placed it under his arm. Whatever you're doing, don't lift your arm. If you lift the arm, the egg will go right back in your pocket. And then you say, that Jack said, that one of the ways you can get it for the egg from right here over to the egg bag is you just drop it down your sleeve like that. It goes there, you just hustle it over there, and it goes over there. And it should come out. Ah, it did, right there. Now, I don't use that. My favorite way is to do this. I reach in the bag, take out the egg, hold the egg right here, go like that, and the egg is right back in the bag, but that takes a lot of practice. Now, I think the part where you say you hide the egg behind your bag, if you stand just a little bit like this, you pinch your coat. They can't see you're pinching it because the bag obviously covers it, and you've created a tunnel right here, and it goes right down that tunnel, and then you go like that, and it's there to retrieve later. Now, the other thing is that if you use a plain egg, sometimes it'll drop down your sleeve and it won't come out. It gets stuck there. So what I've done, this sounds kind of silly, but I drilled a hole in this wooden egg, down, I guess about 3/8 of an inch, all the way down to about here. I filled it up with lead weights from the sporting goods department. I put plastic wood over it, and now I've got an egg that is heavy. And believe me, that egg comes out of your sleeve, no question about it. Another tip is, when anything's up your sleeve, if you drop your arm straight down, it can come out here or here or here, but if you drop your arm down at an angle, like that, it has to come out just perfect, just like that. So that's it. I've had an awful lot of fun out of this. The one thing I want to say in particular, that don't ever do the egg bag unless probably at the end of your program, and have the egg itself in your pocket. Because of the weight of it, it can show up at a very inopportune time if you're not careful. Because it is heavy, it just comes flying out of your sleeve sometimes. So keep it here, and then just reach in like you're reaching for something, drop it down your sleeve when you're in business. Now the other thing I want to tell you is, when you look at the instructions for the egg bag, sometimes they tell you to use little clips on your shoulders, on the inside of your coat, but that's not necessary at all. In fact, Jack Miller in his book said it wasn't necessary. But what you have to do, in my opinion, absolutely have to do, you have to have something right here on the inside of the pocket. Because if you don't, no matter what you're doing, the holdout has a habit of sneaking up your arm and come out, and it's a production that you don't want to be caught doing. So you must have this on the inside of your sleeve, just as protection to keep that thing from flying out, either the egg or some other things I'll show you in a minute. So that's it. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. It isn't hard. It certainly isn't hard to make the hardest part is get your coat on, I guess. It isn't hard to make the egg. I can tell you that. You can make it in 10 minutes. There's just nothing to it. Just cut a hole, stick that in, glue it, put the string on, fasten it with to the fish hook. Oh, another thing. All coats are a little bit different. So don't tie a permanent knot here. Just tie a knot that's easily undone. And I use these things, I think they're called cord stops. And I do that, and that protects it. The knot I use, I think, is called a clinch knot. It's very simple. All you do is just go around like that a few times, then go up there, and the cord stopper is here. Certainly, there's no chance of it getting loose, but it's easy to untie in case you want to lengthen it or shorten it. So I think that about covers the egg bag, and I've had a lot of fun out of it, and I hope you do too. Thank you. Mayor asked me to show you how I keep these little friends of mine when I'm not using them. Because it's easy to get tangled up, I just took a dowel, knocked a couple holes in it, and I just wrap it around like that. That's a good example of why you should cut off the end of the hook. Then it just goes around like that and keeps everything from getting tangled. And I think you got to admit one thing about my props. They may not be beautiful, but they do work, and they're very inexpensive, I can assure you. Thank you.
I saw him do an egg bag using his holdout.
Remember the egg bag? He did the same things he did on stage as he did on close-up.
The egg bag was another favorite of his, and it beat any egg bag on the market because he was able to actually pass the bag out for examination after the egg vanished and reproduce it back in the bag. And it was a natural, and if I ever had to use it again, that's the method I would use.
There we have a little bag, absolutely empty with nothing inside. I always keep this bag empty so you can't see what's in it. Now, the object of the trick is that you must make something come out of the bag like an egg, like this. And I said an egg. They didn't hear that. Yeah, you know what the hens lay? Yes. So you have a bag that's absolutely empty there. Gentlemen, do you mind calling out? Is that bag empty there? That's right. Because I got the egg in my pocket. No, wait a minute. You see that? We throw that back in there. 1, 2, 3, and the egg is gone and into my pocket. I'll put the egg back in the pocket there. That's the idea. Now let's see. There's nothing in the bag, right, sir? That's right. Except the egg. And I throw it back again. 1, 2, 3. Up. Empty? Sure is. A lot of you wonder how this is done. I'll show you. I always explain all my tricks. Now, for instance, here's a little egg. Now, you make believe you place the egg in the bag, but you don't. When no one is looking, you sneak it in back of the bag like that and hold it there with your thumb with the bag in front like that. You see what I mean? Now, the audience thinks that the egg is in the bag, but you know it's not. You know it's in my pocket. I forgot to tell you, you have to steal it from the back of the bag and put it in your pocket. Now, a better way to get that egg over there is to take the egg and put it under your armpit. And then when you lower the bag, you can lift your arm and drop the egg right in the bag. See? But for heaven's sakes, don't lift the bag up there when like that. Because that would make the egg fall back in your pocket. Now, a good way to get that egg over there is to put it in your sleeve and roll it up to your shoulders. Roll it back over there. Make it come down the arm here. Watch it. There she comes. Ah! You see that? And there she is. Of course, a professional magician would just have to throw it like that and make it come out here, I think.
He did the cut and restored rope, but he used the holdout, which was a very clever adaptation.
The other one was the rope trick, where he had the end of the rope and cut it, and then he turned it around his hand.
Tossing it up in the air, and sure enough, that rope restored it like a miracle.
Before I do Jack Miller's cut and restored rope trick, I usually do, some things first with a ring. Something like this, it comes off, and then you go like this, and it goes back on. But anyway, that's what I do to start with. Eric, pull on that rope, will you?
Strong.
Strong. I'm not so sure I'm strong. You're strong. Jack was famous for his cut and restored rope, and I'm going to try to do it for you now. Eric, would you do me a favor? Would you cut that rope right in the middle? So now there's no question. We have 2 ropes instead of 1, right? But watch. I think it's a good idea, before you do the torn and restored rope, that you do something with a ring or something, or do some knots or something before you move into it. And then you just hold the rope like this, reach over here for the scissors, and you've got the extra loop has been delivered to you. I'll give you an exposed view. You're holding the rope like this, you drop down to get the scissors, and then you're like this. The holdout just puts it right in your hand. You come up like this, and you ask them to cut. Now, if they cut like this, there's more chance of it seeing what's happened. If you haven't cut just right there, there's no chance. So it's a big point, I think. You don't gain anything by having them cut way up there. They can cut right here. You haven't really lost anything, right? But when you go like this and you say, well, don't be so sure, like that, it's gone. Now, there are a couple points I want to make about this. It's a beautiful, beautiful restoration. But I'll tell you some problems you may have with it. Number one, the tape itself doesn't really adhere to the rope the way it should. So what I do is I just take a needle and thread and run it through both sides just like that. Maybe you can see the thread. It takes about 2 seconds. The second thing is, because I'm wearing a shirt, if the rope is like this, sometimes it gets like this. And then you come down, you're grasping nothing, which is kind of embarrassing. So the way I handled that was, before I started, I just took and stuck a toothpick up here and up here. Now believe me, that thing is going to be there when you want it. It can't double back on itself or anything like that. So when you want it, I'm telling you, it's there. It's just there. So I start out like this, have this end a little bit shorter so it looks good. So when you reach down like that, you're like this, and now you're ready to go. So they cut the rope right there, show you have 2 pieces, you go like this and like this, that's it. I've got a tremendous amount of pleasure out of Jack Miller's stuff. Ed Michel, I think 50 years ago, wrote a book about some of Jack's effects. Everything I've done is explained in there, but the Ed Michel book is great, and I hope you have a lot of fun out of it. I told Mayer I wanted to do this. I just hope 50 or 100 years from now, magicians have an idea of how brilliant Jack Miller was and how clean his stuff was. So good luck with it. I hope your grandchildren enjoy it. Thank you.
Now the beauty of the Jack Miller holdout is it can be made very inexpensively. Just like Ace showed on this DVD, all you really need is a weight, a clip, a string, some pins, and some tape to put it together, and you could create your own holdout. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the holdouts Jack Miller sold. Now, believe it or not, this was his deluxe holdout. This came out later, and it was much better than the original ones. All you had was a watch strap, some thread, some pins and hooks, and the holdout itself was a wooden clothes hanger attached to a fishing weight. Now this was the deluxe one, so you could imagine what the others are. Let me show you something else. Now this shoebox actually came from the Jack Miller estate. These are parts from his early holdouts, where he manufactured them themselves. A lot of pins, a lot of leather straps. We also get to look at this stuff. These are the actual holdout props that Jack Miller used during his show. If you remember the egg bag routine, this is the actual egg that you see Jack Miller using during his performance on this DVD. This is the egg. He would hold it like this. It would be attached to the holdout. Not very fancy, black tape. Doesn't matter. It's a secret device. It doesn't have to be pretty to look good. This is the gaff he used for vanishing silks, or the color changing silks. Once again, it will be attached to the holdout. This is the actual prop that he used. These are just other props that we found as part of his estate. I'm not even sure what this is. This could have been for a vanishing shot glass, or maybe even a vanishing cane. This is part of his multiplying balls set. But as you can tell, once again, doesn't have to be pretty to be deceptive.
Jack Miller's was the only holdout I ever saw at that time. And they have some magnificent ones out today, but you know, Jack's was pretty simple, and you could do just about everything they still do with them today with this simple little device.
He wanted you to use it, but he wanted you to use it correctly. With Jack, you learn a lot of the misdirection that I developed more later in life.
Jack Miller was a very, very nice gentleman. He always wore a tuxedo. That was his street clothes. He had a string bow tie and a little black bag with his props in it. He was a pure magician. He could do a show any time of the day at this moment's notice.
Kept it in an inside pocket. At a minute's notice, somebody wanted to see something. He just reached underneath his jacket, popped it down his sleeve. He was ready to go.
Everybody knew that he could make things disappear and reappear marvelously. It just disappears into space, and it's amazing.
When I started to take the lessons from him, at 15 or 16 years old, I wasn't making much money, And even though I worked for lieutenants over on the weekend, he gave me a special price, so whatever allowance I had was eaten up in those 3 lessons.
There were $5 a lesson. When you're 15 years old, in those days, back in the 40s, you didn't have always $5, so you may have to save up for several weeks.
My mother didn't understand why I was spending all this money.
That was 1953. I paid $6 for that lesson, and I got the holdout with it. Can you imagine?
Strictly one-on-one, because when he was up there at lieutenants, I think the room was 3 foot by 4 foot, where he had a lot of his machinery to make this stuff and everything, and that's where he gave the lesson.
In my gang, Frank Garcia, I think, did it one time, and also Julie DeRage used it. He took lessons from Jack. I think Kenny Crenzel did it for some time. I think almost everybody tried doing the holdout at one time or other.
Most of the lessons comprised of about a half hour of each phase of it. So the first lesson was just the ball manipulation, vanishing and producing. The second was the vanishing and producing a silk, and the third was vanishing the pencil, breaking it in half, and his nails was like super strong, and when he broke the pencil, he just clicked his nails, and you'd swear that pencil broke in half and then vanished.
He always said that he would give $100 to anybody who caught him not wearing his holdout. And so it was a hot summer day, we're in a restaurant, and Jack Miller, his jacket is on the back of his chair. Little did we know we were set up. So somebody'd walk over and say, "Jack, where's the $100? He says, "For what?" He says, "For not wearing your holdout. It's in your jacket." He says, No. He'd reach into his pants and pulled out the holdout. He was wearing it, so.
The sleeves were probably one of the most important things. The jackets that were a little more expensive had enough in there to open the sleeves probably up to 3/4 of an inch.
I did use a Jack Miller holdout when I was doing a straight bird act.
If there were magicians around, we would ask them to do something. We used to have a joke about that. We were sitting in a restaurant, we walked in, "Hello, Jack," and he vanished he sleeved his cup of coffee.
I practiced that holdout of his to do a cross between a 1 cup and ball routine and the ball and cone.
He made like a small tennis racket for me, and I could vanish 6 coins in this little gimmick.
There was a certain courtesy afforded in keeping secrets. Like if I would perform and use the holdout, some of the people from that era, who later on in the 70s and 80s were pretty old, they would come up to me after everybody had left and they'd say things like, "Did you know Jack Miller?" And I'd say, "Yeah." And they'd say, "I thought so." Or they would say, "I haven't seen one of those used in years." But they never mentioned what it was and never gave it away. Whereas from the 90s on, people would come up and say, "Are you using a holdout?" You know, that's the difference of the times.
Stood well over the many, many years. Every once in a while I whip it out and do it at a magic convention or someplace where nobody knows what it is or what's going on. And it's a lot of fun to fool everybody.
The Jack Miller holdout is one of the most deceptive, invisible, secret gimmicks in magic. Now, quite often, the holdout is referred to as something he brought from the gambling world into the magic world. But I don't believe that's true. The gambler's holdout was very different than what Jack Miller came up with. The gambler's holdouts were always attached to the arm. They were always made to be used seated, and the objects would be delivered in and out of the hand. Whether it was this type of holdout or even a bean shooter, it was the same exact thing, where it would deliver it to the hand and then go back into the sleeve. The Jack Miller holdout depended mostly on arm movements and centrifugal force. Even Jack Miller himself referred to his holdout as a retractable pull, and that makes a huge difference when compared to gambling holdouts of the time.
When I think back about watching Jack 50 years ago, probably 55 years ago, believe it or not, the thing I remember was the color-changing silk, which he did beautifully with the holdout, which is covered in the book that I think is going to accompany this DVD. I also saw him do the cups and balls, which was just absolutely amazing. And I'll never forget it. He did it on a stage, and it was in a big auditorium, and he held a tilted table like this. And he had little strings across it, like that, so he could put a ball there and it wouldn't roll off. So people, no matter where they were sitting, could see the cups and balls, and it was absolutely unbelievable what he did. That's also covered in the Ed Michel booklet. So he was a pleasure to watch. I think that a holdout became like his third arm. I don't think he went any place without it. I think that's what I'm told by some people who knew him, like Herb Zero and others who knew him. It's just, but look, his stuff was beautiful. It was great, and I've done it because I just thought it was great, and I hope, as I said, that people many, many years from now are still talking about Jack Miller's work. And if you look at this book, believe me, there's plenty of stuff in there that's absolutely practical. I guarantee you that. So thank you.
He made everybody feel at home, welcome. It was a great pleasure really meeting him and knowing him.
He was a very nice man, and I knew him for many, many, many years, and sort of missed him when he passed away.
Publicly, I'd like to thank Jack Miller for that wonderful experience and that wonderful lesson. And I hope he lives on in your memory and in all the holdout work that I've been trying to do to preserve it. So, enjoy.
Since you were kind enough to watch this DVD to the end, I have a little surprise for you. Now, as you know, you're going to get a PDF of the complete Jack Miller Holdout Miracles book that was written by Ed Michel. That you can find on the disc. But there's also a surprise PDF, because from Jack Miller's estate, we have a lot of paperwork, a lot of magazine articles and clippings. But we also have a bunch of his card routines and sleights that he wrote himself and illustrated himself. And that would be included on this DVD. So look for it. It's called surprise.pdf. Enjoy. In closing, I would like to read Jack Miller's 8 Golden Rules of Magic. This was his philosophy of what makes good strong magic and good sleight of hand. Rule number 1, showmanship above all else. Rule number 2, all artistry is based on economy of movement. Rule number 3, good humor is based on economy of words. Rule number 4, a good performance is based on economy of time. Rule number 5, misdirection is the art of bringing the mind and eye away from the point of deceptive action. Rule number 6, the human eye will always follow a moving object. Rule number 7, every sleight must be delayed to be natural. Rule number 8, a sleight must be executed with the same amount of natural motion that you would use to perform the same operation when you are not using the sleight.
Thank you.
When I'm dressed in my tuxedo in the evening, I like to carry a pearl-handled pocket knife. But in the daytime, a black knife will suffice. Doesn't show any dust, rust, or marks. Of course, you need two knives to do this. You need a white one here. And you need a black one over here. Oh, a black one over here. They make a nice contrast, the white and the black. A nice contrast, white and black. But never touch the knives together. If you touch the knives together, you get two white knives. What am I going to do with two white knives after all? I don't know. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Lloyd, I wonder if I could borrow that nice ring you have on your finger there. Sure. Would you place it right in my hand?
Yes.
Watch closely. Beautiful gold ring. We'll cover it with a handkerchief. And now, would you take the rubber band, open it up, and drape it right around my fist, if you would, please. Just like so. All right? Now, would you hold on to both ends of the stick, one hand on each end? Watch. Oh. You may keep the ring if you like.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're about to see the magic of a very unique individual who has been an underground figure in the New York magic scene for more than 50 years. Many magicians have traveled to New York just to meet with him and session with him. His magic is incredible, and its strengths are the quickness, the directness, and the soft touch he has for everything he does. He makes everything look very magical. I'm sure you're going to enjoy his magic. Many of the top magicians in the world use his routines in their professional repertoires. It is now my honor and pleasure to introduce you to my friend of more than 20 years, Mr. Sal
Joe,
Stone.
I'd like to show you an effect called contemplate. Would you hold the plate like that, please? And I'm going to take the coins over here. Hold it level. Now watch closely. And now a ring and a pen. I prefer a wedding ring, but since you don't have one, we'll use this. Okay. Well, you can examine both, please. Lay the ring right here on top of the pen, and you see where the ring is. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'd like you to do is hold this end in your right hand and the other end in your left hand. Now, as I rub the ring up and back, it's slowly going to sink through the pen and, look, wind up right on the pen. Now, you look like a good sport, Joe. If we met at a party or at a bar, and if I said that I could take that ring off the pen without removing your hands, breaking the pen or breaking the ring, would you bet me a beer that I couldn't do it?
Sure.
Sure you would. We're not going to play for a beer today, but I'm going to teach you how to drink free for the rest of your life. Would you like to learn that?
Love to.
Okay, the ring is on the pen. Now watch closely. Now the ring is off the pen. You see, and you owe me a beer. See, on the pen. Now, what you were expecting then was magic, and what I just showed you was tragic. But I don't want to disappoint you, so hold on again, tightly. Look, 1, 2.
Wow.
I've never seen a purple cow. I never hope to see one. But I can tell you here and now, I'd rather see than be one.
a very small magic wand. I can take an imaginary arrow and put it right here on the tip of the wand. I could take a copy of that arrow and put it on the bottom. So now we have an arrow on both sides. If I give it a little shake, what happens is both arrows jump to the middle. One more little shake, and they both jump to the bottom. I could make them move independently. I could take the end arrow, move it to the middle. So now we have one in the middle and one on the bottom. I could take the middle one, shake it to the bottom, but now the bottom one jumps to the middle. I could take the middle one, shake it to the end, but now the end one goes to the middle. I know it gets confusing, so I'll make it go backwards, so we're back where we started, with both arrows on the end. A little shake, and they both jump to the middle. One more little shake, and they both are on the end. I could make them move physically, with this finger, so now they're both in the middle. If I give it a little tickle, they split into two. So now we have two arrows on this side, one arrow on this side. Isn't that the craziest thing you ever saw in your entire life? Money. Something using $1 bills. American $1 bills. What's interesting about American money is they're always printed black and white on one side and green and white on the other. Using these 4 $1 bills, I'm going to show you something very interesting. Now, the ink used on American bills never dries, and we're going to use that principle now. By adding a $5 bill to the singles, all we have to do is wait a couple of seconds, and those $1 bills now look like the 5s. Likewise, if I get rid of one of the 5s and take a $10 bill, add the 10 to the 5s, wait 1 second, and those 5s now look like $10 bills. But of course, this is very illegal. So let me take this one back, wait 1 second, and we're back where we started with 4 $1 bills.